Since its release, Nier Automata has carried this mystique around it. When people talk about masterpiece RPGs from the last console generation or modern classics, invariably Nier Automata will be featured prominently. This praise can set sky-high expectations for anyone playing Nier Automata for the first time, especially for those unfamiliar with the Drakengard series. I could see this leading to a lot of disappointment if the game didn't live up to that hype, but Nier Automata simply goes from strength to strength, and my own playthrough confirmed that this is a great RPG worthy of the praise. I'm glad I got a chance to play it, and I'm also glad that I played Nier Replicant first for those curious about which game they should play first. Nier Automata is an action RPG developed by Platinum Games and published by Square Enix. It is a sequel to Nier, otherwise known as Nier Replicant or Nier Gestalt, and part of the larger Drakengard series created by Yoko Taro. The game originally came out in 2017 for PS4 and PC, an Xbox One port came in 2018, and a Switch port came out in 2022. The reception to the game at every stop has been almost universally acclaimed, and the sales have followed. Not too long before this video was released, I saw the news that Nier Automata crossed 8 million copies sold. If you told anyone back in 2010 when Nier released that the next game in the series would sell 8 million copies, they would be absolutely shocked. Nier Automata truly catapulted the series into the public consciousness in a way that's nearly inconceivable for such a niche series. Pretty much the only significant criticism I've come across with regards to the game is that the PC port is a mess. A lot of the initial criticisms were addressed in a 2021 update, but I'll talk later about what still doesn't measure up since I played the Steam PC port. The other platforms ports though are considered great, especially the Switch port relative to other Switch ports. Therefore, you have plenty of great platforms to give this game a try on. So let's talk more about what the plot of Nier Automata is. In the rather distant future of the world, Earth is dominated by machines while the human race shelters on the moon awaiting their chance to come back to Earth. In order to deal with the hostile machines, the humans created the androids and the Yorha project to reclaim Earth from the machines and the aliens behind them. We play as 2B, one of the androids sent to Earth to monitor and strike back against the machines, and later to try to discover more about the aliens and machines in order to facilitate a final invasion to overcome this significant obstacle. 2B is paired with a scanner named 9S, and they descend to Earth to find far more than they ever could have expected. For any of you familiar with the Nier/Drakengard games, you'll know the staples of the series, and also why I didn't go into more detail in the plot summary. I can't go into more details for spoiler reasons, but suffice to say that basic plot will take you through about the first couple hours of the game, and as you proceed onwards, the situation gets more complicated and startling revelations will begin. Even old events will be seen over again with new context as you proceed towards the various endings. There are 26 endings in total, although most of them are short/joke endings. You'll probably collect some endings just by being curious. For the main story though, there are 5 endings to get. Once you complete ending E, that serves as the culmination of Nier Automata's main story. Credits do roll after every ending, but the game will warn you after ending A to keep going to see the full experience. And at this point, I figure most people are aware of this and will be ready to proceed onwards. Still good to reiterate to make sure though, because truly, if you stop at any endings before E, you're missing out on quite a lot of the experience. Nier Automata's strengths are focused on the thematic elements of the game. This is purposeful, at least according to Yoko Taro, who compared it to Nier Replicant by saying Nier Automata was a dry narrative as opposed to Replicant's more emotional, wet narrative. Every path from the main quest to the side quest to the optional stories you can find gives a coherent vision of the fundamental questions in this world. It tackles themes of love and the cycle of violence, along with questions such as why do we fight and how our memories form who we are, and many others in between. The thematic focus is incredible, although I do think it comes at the detriment of the characters in some cases. They're still solid, but there were more ways to write them in connection to those wider questions that would have enriched the narrative even more. And the game doesn't hit you over the head with these. These are things that take some time to sink in. The thematic focus is rich, but it's also not overwhelming. It is just a part of the game, and when you are finally done, all of that can sink in and really make you think. That's the main strength of Nier Automata's writing. What did add to my personal enjoyment of Nier Automata was the glimpse at how the events of Nier Replicant affected the world. Replicant is far from essential to get a lot out of Automata, but I'm still glad I played Replicant first. There are three main styles of combat/gameplay in Nier Automata depending on the circumstances. The very first one you encounter is aerial combat, where you're shooting down flying robots from your flying unit. These encounters are 2D, although the exact style of the dimensions used can vary, so you can't maneuver around as easily. It's reminiscent of shoot-'em-up games, and so long as you're constantly shooting and tracking where the attacks are coming from, these sections are pretty easy to clear. A more infrequent, but still very important similar mode comes when hacking, either when an enemy is trying to hack you, or you try to hack an enemy. In these instances, a random minimalist minigame shows up where you control a little ship and try to destroy a black orb or two. In order to do so, you'll need to navigate puzzles, destroy other foes, or some other task in order to drop the barrier around the main boss and beat that. These are very quick and sometimes have time limits as well. There are some required instances, and the hacking abilities are seriously powerful, so I recommend practicing to get good at it before it becomes really necessary. You're not going to be dealing with this too much if you do not want to. For the most part though, you'll be engaging in combat in a more traditional action RPG setting. Your controlled character has a regular attack and heavy attack. You can swap between weapons for those different attacks if you have them. You also have an assistant called a pod that follows you around. This pod can fire on enemies from range and activate a pod skill that has a variety of uses. As for you, in addition to attacking, you have an evade, and 2B has a finishing move, while 9S has hacking abilities. While the system is straightforward, the smoothness of combat and variety of enemies really makes Nier Automata's combat system engaging. As you level up and proceed through the main story, new enemy types or upgraded versions of previous enemies will appear. This progression evokes the idea that the machine enemies are truly adapting to the challenge you present. Then you have the boss battles, which live up to the name boss by being event set pieces as well as significant challenges. The boss battles are an area that Nier Automata truly excels in. I don't think there's any I would call a weak example. The scale goes from good to amazing battles. Since the combat system is pretty simple, the main way that you adjust your own playstyle and abilities comes with the plugin chips that you can use. These chips are extremely useful. There are attack, defense, support, and other chips. You have the required ones for the android to function, but beyond that, you have space to put chips, and you can unlock more space that will greatly assist you in the long run. On lower difficulties, you can equip chips that do auto evade and the like to help if the combat is too tough. On higher difficulties though, you'll be looking at chips that do things like give you health back for defeating an enemy, emit a shockwave upon attacking, or improving various stats from HP to attack. There's a lot of different chips, so mix and match to find what works best for you. There are also plenty of different weapons to use, although there is nothing wrong with sticking with what you got at the start and just upgrading as necessary. That's what I did, and it worked perfectly fine. Nier Automata also has weapon stories to delve into the backstory of each weapon if you want a little more lore, and some additional depression. These stories aren't generally happy. There is some side content as well to add on time and detail to the world. There's a fairly basic fishing minigame. The main use from that is getting more stuff to sell, but money is not usually an issue, at least by my experience. Most of the side content though comes from the side quests. As I alluded to earlier, the side quests are very good at continuing the main thematic elements of the game and giving further insights into the world. You can still get plenty from the main story, but the side quests will only enhance your understanding, especially when it comes to side quests for specific characters. Granted, that doesn't make them great by default. They are worth doing, but the actual design and gameplay of the side quests are more of a mixed bag. Plenty of fetch quests or a couple rather annoying escort missions. There are a few that are solid across the board, but I certainly wasn't completing them because I was getting sucked into the gameplay. It was all about that extra world/character details. That was definitely worth it, but it would have been nice if it was an all-encompassing experience. When it comes to presentation, Nier Automata is an absolute standout. This starts with the visuals. If you send me a screenshot from the game, it is immediately identifiable as a scene from a Nier game. The designers have captured this particular style that stands out amongst the plethora of other games out there and sets Nier apart. There is no art style that uses black and white better, as seen with the character designs of the androids, than Nier. But that's not all Nier Automata is. The difference between space and Earth is striking, and the environment that you explore through on Earth is beautiful in its abandoned human spaces, along with the natural environment slowly reclaiming it. Each NPC group is clearly distinguished and all have adopted human characteristics, but in the haphazard way that you'd expect from those who don't truly understand why humans dressed or acted the way they did. All that being said, while Nier Automata does have a more muted art style and setting, it has one of the most coherent and well thought out designs that I have ever seen in an RPG. The choice to make Nier's presentation design theme unique is mostly used for better, but occasionally for worse. Definitely in the better area is Nier Automata's music. The versatility of the tracks is incredible, and their utilization throughout the game is always a treat for the ears. From the understated tracks and the emotional moments to the tracks that pump things up during the boss battles, there are no misses in the music. In some ways, it's easy to take the soundtrack for granted because it fits so well in the world and style of the game that you can be absorbed into the game without even registering how much the music is bringing everything you're playing and watching together. The use of the vocals in the music is an especially nice touch, and the recognition the Nier games have gotten for their music is well deserved. Also on the listening side of things, the voice acting is solid. Lots of really talented performers giving good performances, even some out of type of their typical work, at least on the English side of things. Now we come to the UI and UX. The UI is very clean, and I have no issues throughout battle and running around trying to figure out what the important information is. The only knock on the UI is one that I know is purposeful by the developers, and that's with the map. The map does not make it easy to find stuff because it is satellite based, so it can't see anything that's not out in the open. That's not generally how maps are done in RPGs, and it is an adjustment for the players. The choice was made in order to make it more rewarding when you do find things and the various hidden secrets around the map. While I understand this design philosophy and the choice to make it more accurate to how maps actually work, I don't think I'll ever agree that foregoing traditional quality of life game features makes the experience better. We are perfectly willing to suspend our disbelief when it comes to maps and making things easier. Nier didn't have to go that route. This goes for the user experience as well, with the early limitations on fast travel and saves and how these especially impact the late game. All of these are tolerable, but it's not to my liking. As for the actual issues that go beyond personal taste, I must finally approach the PC port. I played through the port perfectly fine with the game running pretty well, especially on my new computer. The biggest remaining issue then with the port is the control scheme, specifically with regards to dodging. Dodging requires a double tap of the movement buttons and cannot be rebinded to another key because it is based on the movement key specifically. There is a mod to get around this, so keep that in mind if you're gonna play the PC port. Otherwise, you're at a disadvantage when it comes to combat. It's an unfortunate drawback to a game that otherwise has nailed almost all areas of presentation, and the few they haven't are up to personal interpretation when it comes to gameplay/interface integration. Nier Automata is one of those games that requires distance to process from after completing. There's a lot here that takes time to sink in, and I'm glad I got the chance to do that before delving into reviewing it for writing this video. It gave me a lot of appreciation for the smaller things the developers did to help the game excel in its narrative and gameplay. If you have played a Nier or Drakengard game previously and enjoyed it, Nier Automata is a must play if you somehow haven't already. For those who haven't played any Nier games, you can't go wrong with this one. It is considered a special game for a reason. I look forward to what the developers do with the series in the future, and I'll be there when they finally announce their plans. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed the video, please leave a like, as it is a huge part of keeping the channel alive and growing. Comment below your thoughts on Nier Automata, and subscribe if you have not already to keep up with my channel and future videos. I hope you have a great day, and happy gaming.